Hello, great ones. Welcome to the Live and Be Great podcast. I'm your host, Latanya Sampson McDonald. I am a life coach and a registered marriage and family therapist associate. And this podcast was created to motivate, educate, and inspire all to live and be great. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about working with your worth, knowing your worth. There's a thing called, that's new, to have a new term for it, called quiet quitting. And we are referring to the workplace. So what quiet quitting is, I don't know if everybody has been following that things are shifting, inflation is happening, but people aren't getting paid more. There was something called, after the pandemic, the Great Resignation. Once people got home, were stuck at home and were able to get more clarity on their lives, what they were doing, were they living a passionate life? What if this job thing, my regular, job, doesn't work out, or something like this happens again? It was definitely a moment for a lot of people around the world during the pandemic to wake up and really look at where they were at. Of course, seeing, all the sickness and the tragedy that came with COVID, the pandemic era. It really caused a lot of people to ask those tough questions and really, really take charge of their purpose. Like even me, I started the podcast during the pandemic. I said, let me go ahead and start it because the on-camera thing could be a bit overwhelming based off of my perfectionism and my ADHD and anxiety and depression. I've always been a person that has been in certain situations where I have those aha moments and I just remember who I am and I boost into the stratosphere, into my purpose. And oftentimes that can be a lonely place when you dare to go after your dreams and your aspirations, when you may be surrounded by people that are just stuck in the rat race or just stuck in this vortex of going through the motions because everybody else is, and this is what society says makes me a good and successful person, right? It takes a lot of willpower, a lot of strength, a lot of courage, a lot of knowing your worth to step out on faith and be able to do that. So let's go. We fast forward to today. Now, we had the Great Resignation. Now we have quiet quitting. Okay. And what quiet quitting is, when you go to work and you do exactly what is in your contract or in your job description based off of when you applied for the job, right? Nothing more, nothing less. Because a lot of us have seen our parents, and bloodline generations on back overwork themselves into so many different illnesses just based off of not wanting to be lazy and feeling like they had to do whatever their boss told them to do or risk their job or be called lazy or whatever the case may be, the pressure that was placed. And I know that I remember being in a family group therapy session, and a parent was saying that she didn't understand why her son was depressed and why he didn't want to just get a regular job and things like that. So, that's clearly a parent that may have not understood what depression was in its many forms, and that it's not just a choice for people to be depressed. But how I put it to her is, if he's seeing you frustrated with your job for so many years, you come home angry, you pay the bills, but you're angry, you're not happy, your child is looking at you like, that's not what I want for my life. And then if they have a constant space of people not showing empathy, not being understanding, when you don't even know that their biggest fight is getting up out of the bed, right? That's a serious thing. That's a serious thing for people. And you have the resentment of the people that, well, I just did what I had to do, right? But what did it cost you? So the new generation is like, well, no more. Okay? You used to be able to come out of college and sometimes not even go to college, but get a regular job and be able to buy a house and support a family. Long time ago. But that's not what that is anymore. It's people living in their cars that have full-time jobs, right? It's people that are making six figures, husband and wife, right? Or a couple partnership, both making six figures, but still living paycheck to paycheck, right? So what I identify that as is us living and working under duress when we do it that way, when we're afraid to ask for that raise, when we're afraid to say, okay, it's 5:00, I'm clocking out. Like, no, I'm not staying overtime. Are you going to pay me overtime? Then no, I'm not. Right? That guilt that comes, and oftentimes it comes when you don't see everybody doing it, right? When your co-workers, or you may have friends or family members that might say, oh, at least you have a job, just be grateful. It is very difficult to get up the courage to be like, no more. But I definitely applaud the people who take that risk, right? Because sometimes when we are judgmental of those people that decide to get up and be like, no, I'm not taking this anymore. You're going to pay me what I'm worth, or I'm walking, or I'm just going to do what's in my contract and that's it. I'm going to make sure I'm taken care of as far as me physically, emotionally, because y'all will replace me the next day if I drop down dead. Okay. I applaud those people, because sometimes it's the people that do not have the courage to do that are the most angry about that decision and will try to shame you out of making that decision for yourself because they didn't make it. Not saying that everybody who doesn't make it is going to be jealous, but I'm just saying if they try to discourage you out of choosing yourself, your health, right? Those are usually the people that wish they had enough courage to do it. Okay. So y'all already know, I'm an entrepreneur. I can't go back. I'm not going back. So I definitely understand the quiet quitting situation, because, people are living under duress, inflation, you got to keep a roof over your head. You got to have food on the table. But when it comes to doing more and not really being able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, I'm with okay, if I have to stay at this job, I'm going to make sure that I'm healthy, when I leave it, right? That's all it is. That's part of knowing your worth and not settling for less. And oftentimes, if you're around people who don't know their worth, they'll treat you just like they treat themselves, right? And look at you like you're losing it when you decide to break the mold and come out in your full essence, understanding who you are and your value. So, my experience, honestly, I didn't even know, to be honest, I didn't even know to look at my contract and be able to say, when I was in corporate America, I didn't even know to look at my contract and that I was able to say, okay, no, I'm not doing that. I did not know. Like, you don't know, because when you're in this society, unfortunately, and we get trained when we go to school for however many years, and we're told to sit at the desk and learn for how many hours a day. You're basically trained to be a slave, right? You're trained to be an employee when you are doing that, and you get looked down upon, like, say, hey, teacher, I gotta use the bathroom. No, I tell you when you can use the bathroom. I'm about to pee on myself, right? And then it happens and you get shamed, right? You feel shamed the first time you decide, okay, my body needs something and I need to pay attention to it, right? You have every right to. You have every right to do that as a human being, but from an early age, that's our training, to just do what we're told and to not ask questions, or else we'll be judged for it. We'll be marked down for it, and don't break the mold. Don't be different, or else there's a problem, And of course, there are a lucky few that have different experiences of freedom that aren't so strict, but it's few. Right? It's few and far in between when it comes to society and how the majority of us are trained, and we just fall into going through the motions and and doing what we're told to do. Right? So my experience, I didn't know that I could look at my contract and say, no, I'm not doing this, and not get fired. Right? I remember being afraid to call off of work. When I'm sick, being terrified, rushing to get to work, almost getting in the car accident multiple times, trying to rush to get to work and not piecing together that these people will replace me, the next day, if for some reason I'm no longer on this earth, right? Or I'm in the hospital, in coma, whatever, I'll be replaced. We seen it happen even during COVID. People lost their jobs for just catching COVID and not being able to come into work when they open things back up, right? You're not valued. So when you're in those spaces, it's hard to, I would say, go with what your heart is telling you to do, or even your mind or your body is telling you to do when they say, okay, take some rest, take some time off. It's hard to do that when there are consequences, and when, like I said, living under duress where you need the job to pay bills so you're not out on the street, and you got food to eat, right? But it's like, when is enough enough? And is it worth your life, right? Because if you're sick and you don't take off, something happened, then you can't support your family anyways, right? So why not make yourself a priority? And listen, I really do love, and I'm not even saying that all, employees have a bad experience, because there are a lot. I can't even say a lot, but I have seen more than enough stories of CEOs that actually care about their employees and make sure they're good. Like you'll see stories about CEOs taking a pay cut just so it can be fair and understanding their employee situations, how much their houses cost, their bills are, they have children and things of that nature, and making sure that they can live a happy life while still growing the company and helping that CEO build their dream. The honor that it takes. And sometimes that's how certain spaces get you. It be your heart. And me, especially, I know working in the mental health field, being like a counselor for, I would say, child protection services, being a counselor for even in treatment facilities, whether they're the top rated or the ones that, people have to have insurance, or the ones that, okay, these people don't have any place to go. They might be homeless or maybe domestic violence. Regardless of the class or the income, in those spaces, they usually pay the least. Right? And it's based off of a system. That's why you have doctors that have bad bedside manner. Why? Because they have loans that they can't pay back. So it's like you're not even making it to where I can just focus on the job and helping people. The reason why I got into the job was to help people. But if I'm stressed out about how I'm supposed to support my family, like, I can't separate, I can't. There are some that push past and they're like, I'm going to see you anyways. I can see that you're really in pain, if it comes out of my check or if I get dinged on it or whatever, but I'm going to make sure you get this x-ray or whatever the case may be. You got some that can do that, but that can only last for so long. So when I look at that, I'm sitting around after I found out, about the quiet quitting situation, which I just learned about it a few weeks ago. When I learned about it, now I'm looking at people who, how you kind of make fun of people that you say, oh, are you taking your job too seriously? Like, why are you mean? And why are you acting this way or whatever? Now I'm looking at it like these people are living under duress. Like, no, they're really stressed about losing their job. You may think that, okay, they're making minimum wage. Why are they taking it so seriously? But if this is all they have and they're convinced that, okay, if I mess up based off of the desperation, I could not have my home anymore or whatever the case may be, that's what you're seeing. You're seeing that stress when people are angry and they're disgruntled at their establishments where they work, And one of the guys from Shark Tank, and I don't know his name. I don't think I ever knew his name, but ever since I seen him call this black woman and her business partner that came out with a brand of lipsticks that were different colors and vegan, and he called them colorful cockroaches, and now that those same business owners are in Target. Okay. It's that same man. I ain't see it for him or the whole show Shark Tank. I could hold grudges sometimes. Like I just, no, right? But I saw him saying that if you leave at 5:00, then I don't want you working for me. Like you're lazy, you're a loser, you're this, you're that. If you leave exactly at 5:00 and I'm paying you to do a job. But intelligent people, understand that actually it's my right to leave at 5. And I don't know about you, but I remember trying to stay after and still being on the clock trying to finish a job that something extra got put on my plate. And apparently I may have been the only one that could do it. And then getting reprimanded for staying overtime to try to finish the work. And their main thing was, well, we're not going to pay you overtime. You got to get that approved. right? But when they need you to stay overtime, it's okay. But when you're like, okay, no, they sound like they really needed to get this done. Let me just stay. You getting reprimanded for it, right? And now you're getting accused of trying to take overtime pay without anybody's permission. And you're like, but I'm not just sitting here on the clock not doing anything. I'm sitting here actually doing extra work that, man, had I looked in my contract, I would have known I'm not even required to do. Right? So just seeing that and knowing that that is the mindset of a lot of, big bosses, it's just like, man, hooray for people waking up. Yes, first with the Great Resignation, and then with the quiet quitting. Like, you saw also that after the pandemic, or even during the pandemic, a lot of people became entrepreneurs. A lot of people started their businesses off of those PPP loans, or they started businesses off of those stimulus checks. And we're like, I'm not going back. To me, that's a blessing. But if we still have people, unfortunately, that's willing to accept lower than their value, right? They're going to keep doing it. Like, there's literally proof of the inflation being what it is and a consistent effort not to raise people's wages, right? It's out there. The research is out there, and it's on the news. Even news anchors are trying to discourage it because, look, they got to get up and go to work. You're going to have people discourage it that feel like they're good, and even the ones that feel like they're good, they feel like, okay, this is what makes me a good person. I got to stay. So you shouldn't get to like stick up for yourself and leave. That's their mindset. But not me. Once I realized that, my mental health was at risk and people didn't care. Like, once my supervisor at the time with my last corporate position, once I was like, I need a mental health day, and they were like, what? After they themselves just took a mental health day. It's just like, hold on. This not making sense to you, especially, wait a minute. This is not making sense to you after you just did it, but also this is not making sense to you in the mental health field, that this therapist needs a mental health day. It's wow, right? Because sometimes when you do pick your dream job, that money aspect and that element of needing to pay bills, it doesn't even reflect what you signed on for, right? Being paid $10 an hour at a level 4 facility with the mentally ill and the severe mentally ill, where they can literally end your life and not get in trouble because they're mentally ill, but you only being paid $10 and $7 an hour. And then they want you to stay over. Right? That's the world we live in. Okay? Where they don't even understand. So you have to demand being treated and being valued, right? On your worth, based off of your worth, or else you're going to suffer the consequence, or else you're going to continue to be living under duress. Now, it is not easy, and I don't want to make it seem like it's an easy decision to say, okay, an easy decision to say, okay, I'm just going to do what's in my contract, or an easy decision to say, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to take any job offers unless they're offering me something that can sustain me or what I'm worth based off of my education or based off of my experience, or even say you do become like me and you're an entrepreneur, and no, I'm not giving discounts. I'm not going to lower the value of this product. You're going to pay me what it's worth, my time, and for the resources and the education that's going to be put in the price. It is difficult. It is difficult because you're going to be constantly surrounded by people who haven't grown to where you've grown to. Right? You're going to run into those people, and you have to make sure that the majority of your home base, whether it be friends, whether it be mentors, the majority of those people that you go to, even if it's a counselor, therapist, life coach, any type of supporting of you, right, is aligned with your vision and your understanding of what you want for yourself and who you want to be for you in this world. You have to have that base in order to make it out. You have to have those people that you've inspired along the way throughout your life when you decided to make a decision that everybody wasn't able to make or were afraid to make. You got to cling on to those stories and tell those stories. Right? Write it down, journal, have a reference to reference back to those stories of when you did the unthinkable or you did the impossible, right? According to someone else, for you to stay strong and not devalue your worth. Okay? You are worth being paid for your services. You are. And the only person that determines you not being worth that is you. And I'm not talking about the person that's like, oh, well, we can't offer you that, so you either take this rate or nothing. No, right? You still got to determine. And when you sign on, oftentimes to go ahead and take that lower rate, how you're treated is not the standard of what you've worked for and what you've earned. It's not. It's always below. And they're looking at you like, well, you accepted the lower rate. Why don't act like you above it now? No, do the job. Right? Your first sign was when we lowballed you, but you didn't leave. So why would we treat you any more valuable? Because you didn't. You stayed. You know? So for those people who are like, well, until I can find something else I want to do, or get a better paying job, to those people are like, I'm just going to do what's in my contract. Good for you. Good for you. And that's inspirational. I'm hoping that my words and the things that I'm saying, but maybe you've heard this message other places, maybe it's something that you've been thinking about. Maybe this is confirmation that you do need to honor your value. You do need to teach people in every single space how to treat you, or else they don't get you. You do. I'm not going backwards, right? And to me, even me as a life coach, not just a life coach, like all the things that I do as an entrepreneur, but even me as a person, period, I know I'm very valuable, right? And I'm not going backwards. When I wake up, like I level up 10, not just 1. I'm that type of person that when it's okay, I got all the proof and all the setbacks and all the pain and all the discouragement and the negative thoughts and, all of this to back up okay, I have not been valuing myself. It's time to move forward and go get more. I become more, right? And sometimes it's a shocker to the people around you, but hey, it is what it is. Once you decide to go, you got to be willing to go alone, you know? And whoever is with you is with you. And if they don't make it to the train in time, they just don't. They get left behind. Right? So as my value increases, when I know, okay, I'm getting more certifications or I'm leveling up in my spiritual journey and I know more, I'm getting more, I'm able to help even more, my prices go up. Yeah. Because I understand my worth. I understand my value. And I don't need to please everybody. And everybody is not supposed to be in my space. Right? Those who value themselves will value me. The end. Those even striving to value themselves and want to put in the work, right? Those are the ones who are my clients. Those are the ones who I want in every space close to me. Not the ones that are going to complain and not do anything about it or never take any accountability or try to discourage me because I'm going after what I want in life. Right? So I can't go backwards, y'all. No, I'm never, for right now, never going back to corporate. My mental health can't take it, and I'm worth more. I have to listen. If I'm not running it, or it's not ran by a like-minded person like me, that honors people's time, honors their time, I'm not going back to corporate. It's just not happening. Okay? It's not. Not saying that you have to do that. So I love, because in the past it was like, y'all just leave, do something else. Right? But now, trying to meet people also where they're at. Sometimes you do have to take those small steps to get to your greatness. You do. And you have to celebrate that. This quiet quitting as in I'm just going to show up. I'm going to show up at the time I'm supposed to show up and leave at the time I'm supposed to leave, not what you tell me to do and what's not in my contract, right? Or if you say you want me to do more, we're going to change the contract and we're going to change the pay. Yes, love all y'all. I support y'all. Y'all have a forever cheerleader. You do. You truly, truly do. And I just want you to understand that you're worth it. Okay? So like the spiritual part is something that you need to pay attention to. Spiritual meaning, how does it feel? Right? And I know there are those who not necessarily comfortable with even having or their feelings or not even comfortable expressing their own emotions or haven't even been taught that it's important to pay attention to how you feel. Like, as in, are you dreading going to work? Does your attitude shift? You got attitudes with everybody, at home and even your friend groups. You're not, like your everything. You're getting sick just thinking about it and, you're disgruntled. When you come to work, like that's the feeling that I'm talking about. And that spiritual feeling is just like understanding your body and the universe and your whole being as a whole telling you that you deserve more. I'm going to continue to make it uncomfortable for you until you go after more, because all of this feeling, even what you're not saying, and even, those who do come home and complain or whatever the case may be, all of that is telling me you want more. So why are you still here? Right? Why are you still here? What's the purpose? I'll pay attention to that. right? Pay attention to how you feel when you're doing something you love versus going to that job, right? Pay attention to when you're around people who love and support you, how that feels versus showing up to people who like barely can even acknowledge your presence or be reciprocal to the sacrifice or the joy or the attention or whatever it is that you bring to the table in those relationships. Pay attention, because there's a big difference. And if you, like I said, I think last episode, if you are constantly reaching for people who are unavailable to you and don't see your value, right? You're going to step on the ones who have always been there, understood you, and have always loved you, right? You're not going to appreciate them either. And that all starts with you not appreciating yourself. Okay? So yeah, you got to take the risk. You do. It's difficult, but it's so rewarding when you decide to stand up for yourself. And I'm not just talking about, of course, leaving to get a better job or leaving to become an entrepreneur or leaving to do what you're passionate about. But even if those of us that, okay, like I'm in this space and I'm deciding to do the quiet quitting thing, right? Not easy, but it just feels so good to be like, no. I remember one of my supervisors of a job asking me to write up notes on a client that I did not see, right? So that I could put my name on it and sign it, right? And this was like within that 2-week notice that I was already leaving the job. But that supervisor was willing to risk my license off of a lie, right? You get in big trouble when it comes to a government run facility or an insurance run facility when you falsify paperwork, right? Any place, like, fraud is fraud. But like, she was literally willing to let me risk my license and lie and forge paperwork and put my name on it. You see? And it felt so good to say, no, I'm not doing that. And she's like, well, how is it going to get done? I don't know, but I'm not doing it. Felt good. Right? Was not easy. But it felt good. And when you decide to make that first step, the other step it gets easier. I would say that it gets easier to make the step. Not saying that it's not still work, but when you're walking in your truth and in your value and you're not backing down, you get this courage and you get the strength and the healthy fulfillment and energy to keep going, right? It does not feel depleting. It doesn't. It doesn't. So why not, right? Why not keep moving forward? Why not demand what you're worth? And for those who are in a practical sense, go ahead and add up those hours of education. Go ahead and add up those times where you were basically working for free. Add up those bills, food, healthcare, add up all of that, right? Do the math, because numbers don't lie. Ask yourself, are you being paid enough based off of what you bring to the table? Okay? I don't care if you're an employee. I do not. Ask yourself that and give yourself permission to demand more, right? Demand more. Demand more of you. Demand more of you loving yourself, you standing up for yourself, you understanding your value. And if anybody wants your services, right? They know to come to you correct or don't come at all. Or you're going to be disappointed. Okay? Rejection is always protection. And in that protection phase, you will also be tested. Right? When they come and they lowball you, that's your test. When they walk away and say, well, I can't do any more than that, that is your protection. Don't go backwards. Don't settle for less. When you've already identified that you are worth so much more. Okay? All right. I love it. 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 I think we're seeing a shift. And I'm excited, and I want to be on the right side, on the winning side. And those who are on the winning side understand their value. Okay? Do the work. Do the work. Love yourself. And don't forget to give yourself permission to not only live this life, but to be great.
The Live and Be Great podcast will be airing every other Friday. If you have truly enjoyed this podcast, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving Live and Be Great a chance. Please feel free to share, like, give a review, subscribe on whichever platform that you're listening to right now, on iTunes or Apple Podcast, Spotify, Anchor, as well as Google Play. The Live and Be Great podcast is strictly crowdfunded, so if you are interested in becoming a supporter, you can click the link in the description, or you can go to liveandbegreat.com and scroll to the bottom and donate to the Live and Be Great podcast today, so I can continue to give you good and motivational content. Thank you all for listening, and don't forget to give yourself permission to live and be great.